my sales time. Gonna bust up your behind. This is my sales time. Gonna mess up your whole mind. This is my sales time. Gonna bust up your behind. This is my sales time. Gonna mess up your whole mind. This is my sales time.
Welcome to Work the Left Side. I am beyond hyper hyped. I say this for a lot of episodes, and I generally mean it, but for this one, I am beyond hyper hyped. I'm infinitely hyped to welcome back. It's been 18 months, but he's back. He's here. Hopefully, he will make this look good, better than I do. It is the one, the only Mr. Adam Bolt. Sir, you good?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. 18 months is insane, by the way.
I know.
No way.
Like I said, I've sort of looked at it. I thought, it's been about a year. You know, it's always nice to get a catch up after, certain people I always look forward or I want to talk to again down the road. I was like, right, it's been about a year. I'll see if Adam fancies another chat. And I looked at it, I was like, oh, wow, 18 months. That's fucking. And, dude, especially when you've, the cliche is, mate, you're just a massive snowball rolling down the side of a hill at the minute, like with the momentum, it's just like, yes. Since last time we spoke, a lot's changed. Like I sort of said on socials earlier, mate, I was a massive fan then. I was hyped to have you on first time round. Since then, it's just been trophy unlocked, done this, yeah, completed it, mate, smashed it. Looking at you've held numerous belts, since we last spoke. Obviously, the main one, which we will get to, is, the True Grit Pride Championship one. But, there's PEW Internet Champion, PEW, Tag Team Champs, World Champ, holding the House of Pain Tag Team titles at the minute with your boy Jackie T. It's just...
Always. Yeah, it's been a bit of a mad one. I think, before, when I last spoke to you, I think actually I was talking or thinking about hoping to get like a regular spot on True Grit. How mad. Weird how things happen, isn't it?
Mate, part of me just wants to be, again, anybody who knows me knows I am only joking when I say this. I have no power. I have no influence. I just think I kind of catch people at just the right time. The amount of people I've sort of spoken to, and then they've turned up on True Grit, a few months later, or, they've got on a roll. It's just kind of like, yeah, I think I just catch it at the right time.
I think you're my manifester, to be honest, because we've had conversations here and there when I've seen you, like at True Grit after the show, things like that, a couple minutes. And you'll always say to me, oh, I just want to see this. And then it happens. And I know, for one, being on that show, you have no power whatsoever for anyone that is listening. But it's just weird because you'll suggest something like, I think it was a couple of months ago, you was like, I love everything that's going off at True Grit with the Pride title, but part of me, I really want to see, like Jackie T get an opportunity and wrestle. A month or two later, Jackie T is wrestling on True Grit. So
there we go.
Yeah.
And
if anybody wants
put
anything,
out there,
just ask you.
Yeah, I'll put it out to the universe. Maybe my aura is just that strong. Maybe it's subliminal, man. Maybe I've just kind of got this like Xavier kind of power where they don't think I've got any control, but you know what? Maybe I'm planting them seeds, and so telepathically, I'm like, yes, do this. Give Ron your sausage. And I'm like, yes, there we go.
I believe you.
Because we've talked about having the Che Monet matches a few months ago, and you're all like, oh man, I really hope that happens at True Grit, and then bosh, that's another example. Dude, obviously I spoke to. We're gonna have this conversation now. I'm gonna get it out of the way because it's kind of in the back of my head since speaking to Che a few weeks ago. We need to set the record straight, mate. Che's putting the blame entirely on you. When you guys teamed in TNT, You know, the name of, I don't know, I think influenced by Star Trek or something. You know, you set your tasers to stun. But yeah, the name of the team, Set to Stun. I mean, you're both stunning. Don't get me wrong, it kind of works. But yeah, Shay wasn't impressed. And yeah, he put the blame on you, mate, completely.
Well, I think Che Monet forgets in this day and age messages exist. So I don't know if he's just trying to rile me ahead of November 14th True Grit, to be honest, because so I'll tell you the real story. So yes, there was, the team name Set to Stun was thrown out there. But bearing in mind, me and Che Monet have not had a ton of experience with naming new teams. So I think we both need work. He'll blame me. I'll take accountability. Set to Stun. I think when we threw out loads of names and different ideas, we was trying to play off of the word stun or stunning, because like I always, refer to myself as the absolute stunner. That's what my finish is called. My gear, I always refer to it as stunning. He uses a stunner as well. So it was like, and obviously he's very flamboyant in what he does, and he kind of has a lot of differences to me, but some similarities as well. So it was like, right, well, what can we do with it? So we were playing around with some ideas, and I think messing around with words, I did put that forward. I'll take that. However, Che Monet did what Che Monet does, and Che Monet thought it was a great idea until everybody else said how terrible it was, and then he blamed me. Because the messages I've got don't show that it was me and Shay was like, Shay actually said it sounded cool, and then went on to say, I really like it. It sounds cool because it sounds like a movie pilot. And also, just while I'm on the subject, if we want to get into it, what do you think's worse? Honest opinion, doesn't matter if it's Set to Stun. If you was stuck between two names, right, and you had to go with Set to Stun or Stun Bolts, what do you think would be worse?
I'm trying to stay partial here.
No reason I'm asking. No reason I'm asking. I'm just intrigued. Set to Stun or Stun Bolts, what is worse?
Oh, Stun Bolts is worse. Set to Stun is the
Right, well,
yeah. I would pick that one over Stun Bolts.
yeah. So you know what? If Set to Stun is a 2 out of 5, Stun Bolts is 1 out of 5, and you know who suggested that? Che Monet. So
Sorry. Wow.
he's gonna hate me for that.
There's no defense to that, really. I'm trying to stay impartial, but I can't argue with the evidence. I can't, I can't argue logic. So yeah, that's that done.
I take accountability. Set to Stun, by the way, like I say, I did put that out there. Clearly, it ain't just me that needs working on to do work on tag names, though, is it?
No. Stun. Yeah. No, I can't even. Doesn't even roll very well. In fairness, so it's like no.
The lads told me everything as soon as he said it.
Like yeah, okay, right. So we'll take the better, worse option. If that's all we've got, we go with what we've got. We make it work. You make it look
The 2
good.
out of 5. Yeah, we'll stick with the 2 out of
5. Talking to Shay though, obviously, anybody who's watching this knows of the stuff that's going on in True Grit. You guys have had battles all over the shop. As well, obviously, we talked about your team in TNT. But yeah, mate, if anybody's been lucky enough to see any of the matches you've had elsewhere, you guys, you've just got that chemistry. I think that's why everybody at True Grit as well is just so hyped for when this match happens. It's because we know just what to expect. We know what both of you can do. It's just, I don't know if it's like a friendly rivalry or if you guys kind of just keep leveling each other up. You just keep pushing each other just to do better.
Yeah, I mean, my year, as it's been, if I had to put 2 names out there for the people that would be my biggest rivals this year, it has to be Tony Wright and Che Monet, right? Yeah. And the only thing missing from that is I have not wrestled Che Monet at True Grit. I mean, me and Che first wrestled each other, I think it was January 2023 in my debut at TNT when he was teaming with Visage. And then fast forward on this year, we've wrestled at TNT a couple of times. We've teamed together at TNT. He's turned on me at TNT. But yeah, I'm the arsehole apparently. then we've wrestled each other at WAW in Norwich, and then now we're bringing it a bit closer to home on my turf in True Grit. So I can't wait for it. But like I say, Shay, I think if you look at the people that I've faced for the Pride Championship, you know, there's something different in all of them. There's Priscilla, who was like the the first champion, right? And I would die on the hill. As much as people, you know, love to hate me, I'm afraid to say Priscilla was the right first champion at True Grit. The right one. I'm the best. But going on from that, then there's Jason Joshua, you know, the strength side of things. You've got Sammy Blue, the underdog, up and comer. Great to see Sammy Blue at TNT, by the way. Big gay bunch. I was so happy when that happened. You've got Tony Wright, who is... I don't even know what to say about Tony Wright. Talent or all of it. I mean, doing his bits everywhere, and so he should be. He should be even more places, and that's the nicest thing I'm ever going to say about Tony Wright. And then you've got Kid Bandit, international talent, and then you've got Che Monet. The thing about Shay is, if I was a fan, and don't quote me on this, and don't take this any other than me just talking from a fan's perspective.
Yeah.
If I was a fan watching True Grit, I would probably be believing that if anyone is going to take that belt from me at this point, it has to be Shay, purely because everyone before him has failed. That's what I would be thinking if I was a fan.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm here to tell you that any fans thinking that are wrong. Just saying. But it just speaks to, you know, what Shay's doing, like the talent he's got, how good he is, how much of a presence he is, and the diversity amongst all them challenges that have come. I openly said when I first took the Pride belt that I didn't want it to be, on the face of it, a Pride belt. Like, as far as who I am outside of the ring is all that matters to me, in terms of that's as far as I'll represent. You won't see me, you know, making any personal references through matches, through entrance, through promos, none of that. It's just like, I wanted to make it like True Grit's Intercontinental Championship, right? The Workhorse Championship. I know we've had conversations about this before, and I was thinking this when I heard you say this on another podcast. So I was like, yeah, they get it. And everyone that has come with me through the journey, whether the challengers, even as far as Jackie T, all share that same goal. And I think I am proud of every match I've had at True Grit for that belt. I feel like I genuinely do perform better under pressure. I always have done. And even as far as, you know, whether it's Sammy, whether it was Priscilla and Tony, whether it was Jason Joshua, and then obviously Kid Bandit was a lot of pressure. Like, it just does get better and better. And I'm not saying my matches get better and better. I just mean, like, the ride we're on gets better and better. And I know Shay also shares that same philosophy, because we've taken that and applied that at TNT as well. So basically what we're doing is everything we already know, we're bringing it to True Grit, but not to excite you even more, because me and Shay have wrestled so many times. We always want to make the next one better. So it's not like, you know, we're going to feel each other out and then, you know, see, oh, well, what can we do this time? To me, this is like the big finale, because we've done so much. We'll wrestle each other again, no doubt. You know, I mean, at TNT, I've got a little briefcase and he's got a championship, so it ain't going to be the last time if I've got anything to say about it. But for me, in terms of like an announced match, and because it's like my home turf, like we've shown what we can do in the Northwest, we've shown what we can do in Liverpool. Now I want to give, kind of, spoiler, kind of give some of the True Grit fans what they've been waiting for, which is like, yeah, they get the good matches, but in terms of just nudging it up that level, in terms of the wrestling and what we do, I think me and Shay are gonna pull that off, 100%.
That's it. I'm not going to disagree with you. You know, after watching every match, just a quick sidebar while we're talking about this, and you know, you talked about the matches you've had previously and the people you've faced previously. I just want to shout out, if people haven't read it, you know, after you've watched this, head over to the True Grit website and look up a piece that Dan Griffin wrote about Adam's, you know, title reign and what he's done for the title, what it means to the matches. It's really well written. I know you contributed quotes towards it as well, and it just sums up, you know, the reign so far from a fan's perspective.
Yeah, Dan, as much as we beef on Twitter all the time, because he's always coming at me, I know he is, It's like he knows when he presses that little button that it's going to push my button and I'm going to come back. He does it all the time. But he did have to change some of the quotes because some of the quotes weren't as nice coming from me. So I was like, listen, if you want to, PG them up, that's fine. But yeah, that article, even I always say I'm an emotionless person, right? And even I reading it, I was like, do you know what? If somebody it's great to have good matches, it is, but I think my mindset changed over the last year, and I just wanted. It's not about the attention; it's just like the acknowledgement, and for people to see me, and for somebody to go through that much effort to write about me and what I've done and the difference I've made, whether it's to a promotion, to a belt, to fans watching. Like I felt that the most in one night after the ladder match with Tony Wright, but to see it all written down in an article, like that's the sort of stuff like you forget that you dream about. Like when people want to write about you, when you are a
Yeah.
focal point of something that they like a media piece or something. It's like being in a movie. Like if you're the lead role, that's what it is in that article. And it's like if you told 10-year-old me that would happen, like we only ever think about like the matches being in a ring, but like that's special to me as well because it that's when you've kind of touched somebody in a different way for them to want to do that.
It transcends just a normal match. It transcends just a normal talent in the ring. Like I said, you've turned up, you've made an impression, you've left an impression, you've been like memorable. And yeah, it's kind of somebody's felt the need to write a piece, not just about one match, but about the last 10 months of your journey, kind of thing. Yeah, mate, that speaks volumes. The fact that somebody felt like that, there was enough good stuff there to do it in the first place, and then just just acknowledge what you've done. Because we've talked, I think when we talked previously, and it was on about another promotion, who were thinking about creating a pride belt or something along those lines, and they kind of asked, how do you treat it? And it was kind of like you just treat it like any normal belt. It's got to mean something. It's got to matter. And the person holding it has got to make it feel like it's priceless.
Exactly that promotion. Because obviously some of the wrestlers there know that this belt is coming. Obviously, I can't say anything, or potentially is still coming. I'm not saying it's guaranteed. I don't know. I haven't heard anything on it.
Yeah,
But and they were asking me, like how do we go about it? And I was like, and my honest answer was, well, have you won a belt before? And they said, yeah. And I was like, and how did you go about that? And they was like, well, and they'll say X, Y, and Z, and I'll be like, it's no different.
yeah,
Literally no different. Like it doesn't matter. Like you don't get women like do the people when somebody holds a women's championship, do they make their matches about being a woman? Do the heavyweights make all their matches about being a heavyweight because they're the heavyweight champion? Because the heavyweight champion is these days is essentially the world title, right?
yeah,
um the only one that it really applies to is like if you're holding a tag team championship, you kind of need to make your match about tag team wrestling, otherwise you're doing something wrong. But the pride belt, it's like you don't need to make it about pride. And I know some people do like that because they see it in terms of representation. They see it as like it's very progressive. Like we're getting to see this, no one's got an issue with it, and that's great. But for wrestling, I think it's kind of like counterproductive because you're basically putting wrestling on the back burner to highlight something else, which instantly is putting everybody else on that show that is putting wrestling forward before you. And then that takes us back to the days when Pride and like LGBT wrestlers were a joke because they looked like they didn't take wrestling seriously because their gimmick came first. And we're going to be doing the same thing unless you put wrestling first, which is why I have said when it comes to that belt, if anybody is going to take it from me, it better be with somebody with the same mindset as me. Otherwise, I'm going to be champion forever. I'll wrestle
yeah,
till I'm 60. I don't care. Like, because everyone's like, oh, he's had it for a while. I wonder if he's going to be. How do you even know we're like less than halfway through this title reign yet? Like
exactly.
it's not up to me in terms of like, oh, who's going to come along and beat me? It's not just a great wrestler. It's first of all, if I decide to have come in at 90% instead of 100, I might have a down day. Fine, but even if that happened, I'd win it straight back. Like just talking facts. Like when people come in with the same mindset as me and they want to take what I've built over the last year with not just me, everybody, even as far as JC that have given us the opportunity, everybody that has challenged for that belt, everything we've built up over the last year, I don't want it to be for nothing. So if anybody else wants to carry that bar and even raise it, fine. Anything less than that ain't good enough. So
No, exactly. I fully agree. Like I said, anybody who's going to take the belt off you, it's because they are just maybe 1% better on any given day. But that's in body, mind, and spirit, and everything. You know, they've got to be there 100%. Just turn it on. But yeah, you know, you said it before. I class, me, Dan, and a few others. You know, well, a lot of the fans, we consider that belt the workers' belt. That's not to besmirch anybody else. You know, obviously Brady was holding the heavyweight title at the time. You know, Brady's an amazing worker. We're not besmirching those belts, but it's just like you sort of said, it's the IC belt back in the day. You know, it's the Mr. Perfects, the HBKs, the Bret Harts, the Dolph Ziggler's. You know, those guys before they went up to the main title. You know, they were stealing shows.
Do you know what I think it is? I think it's because it's so new as well. And I think when you watch a main event for like the World Championship, you expect a great show. You expect great wrestling. If you watch a tag team match for the tag belts, you expect them two teams are the two best tag teams. Otherwise, why are they in that match? And you want to see great tag team wrestling. You see the women's champion, you want that women's champion to be the best, not even women these days, one of the best wrestlers on that show, if not the best, because I see the women's belt as equal as the men's world title, right? Just the way it is. But with the Pride belt, it's like people didn't know what to expect. Like, is it a gimmick? What is it? So they already should believe that they're going to get all this great wrestling and great stories with these other belts and stories going in. But because the Pride belt was so new, and what it's been associated with in the past, it's easy to assume that it might be a bit of a throwaway, a bit of a joke, a bit of a, it's just a spot for a certain community or whatever. And I think we've changed that in the last year. And I say we because everyone keeps saying, and do you know what? You know Adam Bolt is the most selfish person ever. Got to take it. But I can't sit here and say what I've done over the last year because it's not just me. It's every single person that's come and helped build it. Like, I could be a great champion all I want, but if I've got no challengers, what sort of champion am I? I'm not a champion. So that's a thank you to Jason Joshua, Priscilla, Sammy Blue, Kid Bandit, Tony Wright, Shay, whatever. When it happens, if it happens, like all of them, like we've all done it. I'm just the one holding the medal for it. That's all it is.
Well, I think the quote goes, to be the man, you've got to beat the man, or to be the best, you've got to beat the best, to kind of paraphrase it. So, yeah, you know, you're only as good as, you know, a bad guy is only as great as the good guy, or the good guy is only as great as the bad guy he's facing, kind of thing. You know, you've got to have that competition. If you're just steamrolling over everyone, it doesn't make you look strong, it doesn't make you look good. When you're putting on absolute sort of 5-star matches all the time. You mentioned the ladder match, mate. I know for me, I think Paul Stewart after that match sort of said, you know, that's the best match he's ever seen live. And I know it got a lot of attention from a lot of people, not just True Grit fans. You know, as soon as it got put up onto Triller, you know, went out into the universe, word of mouth spread. Mate, you must look back at that match. As punishing as it was, it's got to be worth every bump.
Do you know what? I would do that match again on any day. Like, I absolutely adore Tony Wright. I do. Like, despise him at True Grit because he keeps sticking his beak in my business. But the human Tony Wright, like one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, and deserves everything he ever gets completely. But again, Tony Wright was the one that shared that mindset with me more than ever, especially with it being on the Pride show. We spoke about it before, and we said, as much as the Pride show has its purpose, we kind of wanted to go the other way and say by the end of it, we want people to forget or not be talking that they are at a Pride show. We wanted them to create the illusion that they are watching any True Grit show. And then if they watch that main event and it's better than they've seen others, or just as good or on par or whatever, then they can come away from that and be like, that didn't need to be on a Pride show. And that's all we wanted. And I think we over-delivered because Like, I've never had a reaction like that to a match of mine ever, and the feeling of it was insane. Like, it was surreal. I don't know. I don't even have the words for it. Like, when I also, like, watching it on Triller is great, but it doesn't. From people that I had there and the people that were there and being in the ring myself, like, even that doesn't do it justice from the atmosphere and how good that feeling was on that night. Like you say, people were talking about it after. I mean, I've had matches where, you know, the day after, people have tweeted, they've tagged me and stuff 2 days later. The ladder match, I tell people this because it's just shows how much attention it was getting. It happened on a Friday. The first day I had when nobody tweeted me about that match was the following Saturday. So it took 8 days for somebody to not mention me in something. And even on that 8th day, it was a fan that said, "I'm having a bad day today, gonna rewatch Tony Wright versus Adam Bolt." And I was like, well, there's the 8th day. But and then eventually, like, yeah, it did. But like, it's weird because, to say me and Tony had this goal and we thought we were like shooting for the stars with that, because we was like, oh, you know, we don't know what everyone else is going to do on this show. Will everyone be bothered? Will there be a big crowd? Like, whatever. Um, to say that was the result, like, we couldn't have even thought it would be like that, and we didn't try and make the actual match like, oh, let's do things people have never seen before. Because if you actually watch it, there's nothing like mind blowing. I think it is just the story and where we went and how it's structured and flowed throughout that made it just like, if I was a fan, and this has nothing to do with it being me, if that was Tony Wright and anybody else and I was a fan and the match was the exact same, I would have been on the edge of my seat, like waiting and watching and just being like, what's going to happen next? Because I think very early on we planted the seeds of like some of the bumps we took and some of the things we did to each other were quite brutal earlier on. And if it's that brutal earlier on, just without throwing the whole ladder match in your face and being like, oh, let's dive off of it, because we took our time with it. But by the time these things had happened, it kind of set the tone for where we may have gone, which as a fan you sat there thinking, if they're doing this to each other now 5 minutes in, where are we going? And we went there. Felt like shit after, but we went there.
Right. But yeah, I still say it was just, again, I can only speak from this side of the current, you know, from a fan's perspective, mate. That is, you know, at the end of the year, True Grit do, you know, like the top 10 memorable moments of the year or best matches. You know, they do the end of year awards. And if that's not like within like several different categories, then that's just going to be, it's got to be. I'm not even saying if it's not, it will be in there. It'll be top 3 matches, top 3 memorable moments. It's just, I've still got a few shows left yet. You know, you and Shay, you know, you and Tony might get spot 1, you and Shay might get spot 2, vice versa. You know, it's, I know that's going to be the goal. I know you're being like, right, I'm going to nick every single spot possible
Oh, I
in
wish.
memorable moments.
People don't love me enough to do that.
Mate, I'm going to push for it. You know, they love to hate you, dude. You know, they might not love you, but they sure as hell enjoy your matches.
They should love me. I'm not even a bad guy. I'm just misunderstood. Like, if you actually look at what I've done, I'm not actually that bad. I'm just very universally disrespected. And if you disrespect somebody enough, they're going to be an arsehole.
That's
That's
it,
my
yeah.
delusion talking, anyway.
Yeah. I want a quick shout because the slight, you know, fans might be a little bit unhappy after, you know, you decided not to wrestle at the last match, but that did give us what you talked about at the start of the episode, you know, that Jackie T moment where Jackie got, you know, in the ring. He had his match against Shay. I just want to give, you know, Jackie his props, his love for that match, because again, you know, that match, every fan in that building was so hyped to see you versus Shay. For you then to pull out and Jackie to have to step in, mate, I didn't even think about it at the time, but afterwards I was like, that must have been so much pressure on Jackie's shoulders, because he's coming into it knowing the fans want to see you and Shay. They're now getting Jackie versus Shay. It was an amazing match. But man, that must have just been nerves of steel to come in and be like, shit, you know, the fans are either going to turn or they're going to get behind it.
Do you know what? It's funny you say that, but because it wasn't until I listened to your podcast and the review of that show that I didn't even think that I'd put that on Jack either. I was like, actually, like that's a bit of a prick move, isn't it? Like, because you're right. Like, people were looking forward to me versus Shay, and because I just didn't want her. To be fair, I didn't fancy it yet. Like, for Jack to walk out there, like, yeah, like people could have easily have been like, "Oh no, this is stupid." You know, as well. You forgetting you might have somebody that bought their ticket when that match was announced. You don't know. Like, none of us do. Like, somebody could have
Nope.
paid to go watch that show because they wanted to watch that match. Sucks to be them because they didn't get it. But
Nope.
yeah, like, to be fair to Jack, Jackie T, I think he absolutely loves being ringside with me. You know, you don't have to ask him twice for any sort of shenanigans or just to be a little menace. Like, he's like me. That's why we're best mates. But part of me did feel like, you know, he's paid his dues a bit. Like, he's been present at all these shows. He's been a focal point of it. Sometimes very important. And yes, all right, may have had a bit of maybe 10% of to do with me retaining sometimes, but like, he did deserve his flowers and he did deserve his moment. And like, Che Monet is a great opponent for him. With the amount of times I've wrestled Che, Jackie T has been sat there, you know, in the crowd backstage, like up on a balcony watching. So he's watched a lot of Che. So, and he's also obviously had conversations with him while we've been present. So like, it wasn't as if it didn't help the pressure, but at least it was somebody he was familiar with. But and then, like you say, like, just because they'd seen Jack on these shows, they'd not watched him wrestle yet. So there was a lot of pressure, and I think he delivered like very well. I mean, like, very well. To say people are wanting him back and they want to see more from him, you know, like, if the time comes where, you know, I do move on from the Pride belt, maybe we do get more of them tag matches in with me and Jackie T. Who knows?
See, that's got to be a top. We're going to talk about this non-stop on like the True Grit review hype shows down the line. I know we are, but I'll mention something we've talked about previously on one of them is, you know, we were all about getting Jackie T in the ring. Obviously, we thought at first, you know, we might get Adam, we might get Big Man Inc. kind of thing, you know, we might get Jackie T, Adam Bolt versus Che Monet and Sammy Blue. That was kind of a fantasy match that we kind of dreamt up for a future show. But you're all about, if you ever do lose the title, if the day ever comes, if anybody is that 1% better on any given day, you know, with the IC belt mindset of the guys that I've just mentioned, you know, people who held that title to get them ready, or not even get them ready, but just to get them ready in the fans' eyes, you know, so there was the next logical step was, you know, if you ever do drop that belt, mate, I want to see Adam Bolt going for the, you know, for the heavyweight title.
You know, it's funny you say this because, again, it's just, do you know what? That advice that I've given to them wrestlers that asked me about the Pride belt, I would give to myself. And if people want to know what would be different about me carrying or going for the True Grit heavyweight belt, my answer would be nothing. Be the same me, the same mindset, everything. All it would be is fresh competitors. And if we can have these sort of matches now, I just picture what it would look like if a True Grit show in a year or two was being main evented by me and Riley Nova, me and my wrestling dad, Brady Phillips. Like, I think like that is what I want to do. Like, my because True Grit is a massive stage for me. Love the place. My favorite promotion to work for as it stands, and I feel like with the Pride belt, we don't always get them main event spots. We've had it once on the Pride show, which is, you know, understandable. I get it, but I never settle. To be honest, I always want more, and I feel like that is a logical step. I would have a lot to think about if the day comes when I lose this Pride Championship, because where do I go? Do I keep chasing that? Do I get it back? Do I, you know, hang about with Jackie T for a bit and go, or do I go for the logical one, which is take what I've done, I've proven my point, and now we keep proving it with just a bigger crown.
Yeah. I mean, you and Jackie can't be going for the tag titles anytime soon because the regime ain't dropping them anytime soon. So I can't imagine you two, having that conflict with Sash, Brad, and Franco at True Grit.
Yeah, we do get on with them. They are our friends, so maybe that is a bad idea.
Yeah, I won't say just yet, but I love the fact that you still refer to Brady as your wrestling dad. It's just kind of like, cause, I know last time we spoke, I think it was, I talked to you, I talked to ZZ, I talked to Joey Slade for the first time, all within quite a close proximity. And that came up a lot between the three of you, like Brady and Ivy. You're all like this wrestling family, like brothers and sisters, and Brady and Ivy were the mum and dad.
That's exactly how it is, and they treat us as such as well. Like the amount of times, like I'm no secrets. Ivy inside the ring, outside at True Grit is legit my best friend. So but weirdly, she will tell me off like I'm her actual son. Like the amount of times she tells me off for whether I'm wrong or not. Like, when does a mum ever admit she's wrong? So I don't hold it against her because she never does. Like, I'm always wrong, and it's mum telling me off, and I get it. That's the way it has been for a long time. But yeah, and then I also do get that with Brady because like when I've had matches, like even as far as True Grit, and I've come back and asked him how it was, like without even thinking about it, I do have this subconscious thing where it's kind of like, as a kid where you want to make your parents proud. Sounds stupid because, spoiler, they're not my real parents, but like I do get that vibe. Like I think one of the times I wrestled Tony, I like, and Brady was like, it was really good, and it means more coming from him because he doesn't throw that away for nothing. But also because I've spent so much time with him, you kind of want like that approval that you're on the right track. And yeah, like it's great to have them around. They are like very good at what they do. They have been for a long time, but they're very supportive as well. Like they really are. Like they look out for us, especially Ivy. Like if anyone's horrible to me, you've made an enemy in Ivy for the rest of your life. Like it's the way it is. So
That is legitimately scary. I cannot even imagine. There's very few people
why do you
that
think I'm the way I am at True Grit? I'm safe.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
Mate, that's awesome. But yeah, that's the thing as well. That's another reason that it's no secret. I'm getting abused from it a lot at the minute for some reason. But I'm a Nottingham boy living in Yorkshire. I love the fact that True Grit is kind of split 50-50. There's a few obviously from other promotions, but there's a handful of talent from like PPW. There's a handful of talent, from House of Pain, Elevation. You've got these guys all kind of mixing together, and I just think it makes a very unique show. And it just, everybody's just on top form. It's like the best of the best.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on both sides here because I live in Doncaster, but I train in Nottingham, so I'm kind of just in the middle, like, don't like any of you, but yeah.
Just Donny. Anything outside of Donny, it all sucks. Leeds sucks. Nottingham sucks. Everything sucks. That's fine.
Yeah, although being from Doncaster is not a flex these days, so.
No, no. Well, you say these days. I'm not going to actually ask when it was because I don't know. I might be back when the Dome was a place to be.
Oh yeah. Oh, the Dome. Yeah.
The Dome. The Dome.
Yeah, my first wrestling show was in the Dome.
Which one was it? 1PW.
Yeah, 2005.
Which show?
It was A Cool Twist of Fate, 2005.
Oh, the first 1PW show.
That was my first wrestling show I ever watched. Yeah,
Dude,
was absolutely living for Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, and Raven.
Mate, I was at that show. I went to that one. Obviously, Matt Hardy was meant to be there, and then obviously we got AJ Styles instead, which was perfectly fine. It's just, that was awesome. But yeah, so that's the thing. You got this stuff going on, especially. I mean, you've just kind of put that match out there. I don't know. I'm just presuming. Everybody's. I've got to presume when Brady comes back, hopefully at the Rumble for True Grit, he's going to be a face. That does set up an inevitable match. The match of Adam Bolt versus Brady Phillips at True Grit at some point. Obviously, you against Riley wouldn't work at the minute unless somebody gets a little bit nicer. But you versus Brady would be just, mate. That's absolutely they put that on a poster, they put that on a graphic, mate. I am just going to be hyped. I'm going to be talking about that match until the show happens, kind of thing.
believe it or not, I've only wrestled in one-on-one once, and it was in some pub with like 3 people there in like 2018.
Wow.
And although anything could happen at Trugate at the minute, I mean, I can't really say anything because, as you can imagine, the whole family has been a bit
Mm.
at the minute with what's going
Yeah.
off at True Grit. I don't even
Yeah.
know what's happening. I'm staying out of it. I'm just taking me and Jackie T are just like, over here watching them all like, "Ugh." I don't know where Brady stands, don't know where Ivy stands, Riley stands. I don't know. I'll just
Yeah.
let them all figure it out on their own. Like, that's fine.
Dude, you concentrate. Yeah, you've got your stuff. You'll find you there if anybody needs you. If not, mate, you just concentrate on what you do. Um, but somebody pointed out talking about Riley. Obviously, I just said that couldn't work at True Grit at the minute. I'm sure they'd find a way if they wanted to do it. But somebody told me you guys had a match at IWU recently, last couple of weeks. Is that right?
Yes. So wasn't the best experience just because. So me and Riley have only wrestled again one-on-one once a few years ago at House of Pain, and we wanted to run it back because in the last 3 years, 2 years, we've both come a long way. And I still don't know what happened in that match at IWU, but I must have hit my head somewhere because I remember going up. You've probably seen me do it. Someone sat on the top rope. I climb up, look like I'm going for the Rana, and
Yeah.
I'm always, taking my time a bit too much to the point where they managed to shove me off. I remember being stood on the top rope and I looked out and everybody's head was just like waving like this. And I did not have a clue where I was, like not a clue. Luckily I was fine. We still don't know what it was. I think it was just they did say when that I was probably partially knocked out. So it wasn't like a concussion or anything. But yeah, like I feel like that's why I still want to wrestle Riley because I feel like that match was it wasn't what it should have been. But yeah, it was fun. It was for what we did. Everyone said, it was really good for what we did. Like there was nothing glaringly obvious in it that was like, ooh. But it was just, I know, obviously, if that didn't happen, it would have been a lot better, and we could do better. So, but yeah, we did wrestle each other.
Dude, from a fan's perspective, I have this like I say this so like when people are sort of been like, when they look back on a match or during the match and something goes wrong, obviously you know it's gone wrong. But from a fan's perspective, we're just sat there clueless, just like this is awesome.
Yeah.
We're just kind of basking in the glory. So yeah, you could probably look back on that match and you sort of say, point out a few things. But for the fans probably got exactly what they wanted because and it's if it's the first match, out of a few, then you set the bar there. Damn well next time the bar's going to be up here. You can smash that. So
Yeah.
it's a steady build.
Not ticking Riley over off just yet. I feel like I need to do it justice. I need to right the wrongs.
Well, definitely because you two guys were hyping. That was one of the big things of this year, where Riley, turning on Brady. For a lot of fans, that was kind of like, oh shit. But it makes all the sense in the world. He's another one of the guys who's just, there's you, there's sort of Riley, Billy O'Keefe. I kind of put up there. There's loads of guys that kind of just are waiting for that main event, and obviously Riley's the first one to jump up, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
not well. I say main event. Obviously, you have main evented, but in that scene, I want to see you guys at some point. You guys are going to replace, or take, Brady's place, Kemper's place, and Serico's place. That's how I see it going forward.
Yeah. I mean, we will get there. I mean, Riley's doing incredible. Can't speak too much about the way he got there, but he's doing it, and I feel like Riley should be in the main event scene at True Grit. He should be. He's come a long way in the last few years. Like, he's ready for it. But then again, as am I, as is probably Billy. So it's in safe hands, I think, like whether people spot are taken or they share them or whatever, like True Grit is in a very, very strong position. It kind of reminds me of back in the day with the way it will be. It's kind of back in the day with the Attitude Era. You had your main eventers like Stone Cold, The Rock, and then you had like upper mid card that could just jump into the main event and it make complete sense, like Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle. So it was like that's what it reminds me of. Like you've got all these people that are just you won't bat an eyelid if if Riley Nova's in the main event and then he's main event in the first half of the show the next month. Like you'd still look at him the same. Still a star. So yeah,
that's it. That's because everybody else does. So, like I said, you could have the heavyweight title main event the first half, because that's the thing now. Because the way it's been programmed, and as fans we've been programmed, we get 2 main events now. Basically, we get one before the intermission, we get one at the end of the show. You could have the heavyweight title be the main event of the first half, and then like the Pride, being the main event of the overall show. I'm sure Jacob's Ladder, the tag titles are going to be the main event. But each match or each belt means the same sort of thing. They're all held as a fan, from my perspective. I hold all of those belts, on the same level. One doesn't mean more than the other one. They're all equal. So anybody can jump around. And like I said, you're not going to bat an eyelid at it. You're not going to second guess it. In 3 months' time, if we get Vuzic versus Adam Bolt versus Billy O'Keefe versus Riley Nova, I'm going to be like, yes, mate.
yeah.
So
I
take
wouldn't
my money.
turn that one down.
This is this is as amazing as everything you've done in this last year. This has kept me talking about all of this instead of jumping straight in and talking about a recent trip, which, I mean, this recent trip should have been the first thing we started talking about. This was freaking huge. This was like wrestling in utopia kind of thing. But this kind of takes second fiddle, mate, after your Pride reign. The Pride reign's been that good. I want to talk about that first, and then we'll talk about the Hart Dungeon.
Yeah.
Dude. Mate,
don't, because I still feel like I haven't woken up.
That's great. Wow, how did that all come about? I mean, was it? I mean, obviously, we talked about we were trying to arrange this episode, and you sort of said, "Oh, I'm off to Florida." I just like, "Oh, dude's going on holiday," and then obviously I see these pictures coming up on social. So if nobody's seen them, they will pop up in a minute by the magic of YouTube. But you're in there, Jackie T's in there, Brady's in there. Talk about Brady again and Jackie. But it's the three of you just filling out with Natty and TJ.
Also, just before I talk about the actual story of it, is it a coincidence that the 3 UK talents in there are all True Grit wrestlers? Weird, isn't it? No, so in terms of the dungeon itself, it is, they're very open about it. It's an invite only. Natty said herself when we were there, she sees it less of a training school and more of a workshop for advanced. We were fortunate enough to get the invite to go there. Almost didn't happen. So we were in Florida, we'd had the invite, and then it almost didn't happen. We didn't know at the time until a few days later. But Natty had to move, or I think she had a podcast to do about her book, and she could only do it on the Wednesday. We were going to miss the training because we flew home on the Wednesday. And because it could only happen on a Wednesday, it meant she could only do the training on a Tuesday, which meant TJ and Natty were like, "Yep, training's changed to Tuesday now, so you can come down." And we was like, "Oh shit." And I was like, "Oh my god, I can't." Because with the dungeon, you don't know who's going to be there as well. Like it's big enough, the pressure of, and I don't want to say meeting Natty and TJ because that is massive. I mean, I've watched these two for years, a lot of respect for them, but it's more. It's one thing meeting somebody and being like, "Oh hi, my name's whatever," but it's another thing doing what you do in front of them, because as much as you feel the pressure, like I said the same to Jackie T before we went, like I would rather them give me 99 things I'm not doing properly, because if I'm going to trust anyone's judgment, it's going to be those two. So like it was insane. So we went, and I'm not going to lie, we all had a bit of imposter syndrome because we were there. The first person we saw when we were going in was Ilya Dragunov. Yeah. So funny story, that picture of us at the dungeon was taken by Ilya. But yeah, it was just I don't want to go too much into it in terms of the, you know, how it happened and stuff like that. Like, it is invite only. We got the invite to go. What I will say is, because this is what I'm really like mind blown about, and nobody knows this apart from us that were there, is we would the training we were doing meant we were doing, you know, some sequences and stuff like that. The first time I got in the ring, Natty put me in the ring with Angelo Dawkins, and I was like, which is a lot of trust in me, because got to remember, these people are on TV. You know, it's not like us where, you know, we can just afford to, you know, if we had to miss a show, no biggie. Like, to put somebody you've never met or you've never watched in a ring with somebody who is a contracted WWE superstar and just trust that they know what they're doing, like, to me was like, so it was only about 30 seconds to a minute of me just chain wrestling with Angelo Dawkins, but I've done it. It was just insane. But Natty and TJ, like, great people, and I can tell you, because I've told them the same. We all got invited back, and I am making every effort to go to Florida, and I'm not waiting for it. I'm gonna go back within 6 months, because, like, learning from them is just insane. It'd be stupid if you've got your foot in the door to just be like, oh well, I've been once. Like, I didn't go for the socials. I didn't go to just go. I went to learn from the best. And if I want to get better and reach new levels constantly, I want to learn from the best. And if that means getting on a 9-hour flight and paying to go to Florida to do that, it's no brainer.
Dude, oh my god, that is, you know, cause yeah, I didn't know the, you know, the story behind it and everything like that. For it to be invite only as well, you know, that's huge. That must just be, you know, like, because obviously they're not going to invite just, you know, Rita Bob Sue, Billy Bob down the street. They're not going to invite just anyone. You know, you've got to have something about you. They've got to sort of know stuff. They've got to be able to sort of see that potential. They've got to be like, you know, 'cause they're not going to waste their time. You know, they've got the potential's got to be there. And obviously, you know, I know, you know, you've got it, kind of thing. You've got that belief. You know, you're not lacking in confidence. But you know, when something like that happens, mate, that's a massive, like, you know, you can just kind of look at yourself and be like, yeah, told you was awesome. You'd be like, yeah, no, yeah, you're right, I was. Yeah, no.
It's weird, because, like, I am like that a lot of the time, like, not in a cocky way, but just more in a, I
Self-belief.
know how hard I work. Like, especially over the last year, like, it's not a coincidence that a lot of the good things that have been happening to me over the last year have come when I've put the most work in. Like, you know, everyone, you know, if they go to a show, there's been times when I've gone to a show, left the show, gone home, gone to the gym as well. Like, and some say I do push myself too hard. I do, like, obviously, and then I end up getting a dog in December who is my complete 100% responsibility. So it's like being a full-time dad as well. Then I have another job, gym. I make my own gear. Like, it's just like, I know I'm always on the go. So I know how hard I work and how much I've put into it. And I'm open to say as well, like, I could even work harder than I am. So, like, getting it, I did have a bit of imposter syndrome where I was like, do you know what? Like, I don't know. I feel like I don't belong here. Not because I don't think I'm good enough. It's just because I've only been this confident for about a year, but that kid has existed for 20 odd years, where being around anybody from WWE, seeing like Natty's face, TJ, Angelo Dawkins, like these people that I've watched for years, but are also associated with what I've watched for even longer. Like, you've always, as a kid, thought it's a million miles away. So when you get closer to it, it still doesn't feel like it's real, because you've told yourself for years, like, it's almost like it's not real, like it's a movie. So I did have a bit of imposter syndrome, but, and then I also do have to pull myself back down to earth and be like, do you know what? Like, I have earned it. Like, I have. And do you know what? If some people want to say that, you know, they should get it too, I'm not saying that they shouldn't. But there's got to be a reason that I got, you know, I was able to go and do that. And if anybody's doubting that, Natty and TJ, like you say, they are not going to lie to anybody. If they wasn't impressed, if they didn't think we had something, they would say thank you. You know, it's been great seeing you. They wouldn't be openly saying looking forward to seeing you again, which Natty said publicly as well. So, you know, like, she's just, and the good thing about Natty and TJ as well, like, they share that they have that passion, and that's what I feel like sometimes I'm missing, because being around the same people in British wrestling, it's always like, oh, can't be bothered today, blah blah blah, and I'm guilty of doing that as well. But to walk in there like that, credit to the people that were there as well, like the some of the talent that were there. Not, and I don't want to talk about the signed WWE talent at the minute. I mean, like, some of the ID prospects and things like, and people like that. I have never been in a training session with a group of 20 people who have like such passion for what we're doing. Like, and you can tell it's so real as well. It's not just because, oh, it's Natty and TJ. They want to learn from them. They want to be there. And Natty and TJ, like say, they're not setting up a list of, for people to sign and pay countless fees to train there. They do it because they love wrestling. That is literally why they're doing it. They do it. I'd have to ask them, but I'm assuming it is just because of their love of wrestling. They want to give back. They want to help people, and the people in there, like, you can tell they would not. They wouldn't take shit from anybody in terms of people coming there and not putting in 100%, because not one person there did. They were all like on the ball constantly, and I found this from when I've been taking my sessions as well. A big thing that I've always been big on for the last few months when I've been training down at House of Pain is I saw none of what I see a lot here, which is if you're at a training session, people are in the ring doing the things. 9 times out of 10, you get people just stood at the back of the room having a laugh, and then they'll get in and do that. But Natty said the same thing what I've been saying for months, which I've not heard. It's not as if I've been with her before, where she said you can learn just as much from watching as you can being in the ring. So she expects everyone to be switched on, watching, and observing, and everyone was, and everyone was so good. And that's it's kind of, it was just a breath of fresh air to be around people who, and I'm not taking away from anybody in Britain at all, because there's a lot of people like this, but obviously being at home and not being, I think the dungeon's a bit different. You are going to want to, like, if you're
Yeah.
there, it's for the same reason. So like, it still feels a bit surreal, but like, just being there, the people were great, the people were nice. Like, I can talk about 19TJ all day, but I wanted to highlight like the other wrestlers like from the States that were there, like hardworking, driven, and there's like my list of people who I want to wrestle has grown by like 10, because I just want to get back over to the States. I really do. Like, I'm not waiting. I don't want to wait for opportunities to come. I don't want to go down the route of getting booked everywhere in the UK and then, moving out and venturing out. Like, I want to go and hit the States. I do, because if that means I come back home and then more places in the UK, like some bigger promotions want me, fine. But I'm not going to wait for anybody to, put the wheels in motion for me. Like, I want to go and do it. Now that I've had that taste for it, and I know it's not a million miles away, I'd be stupid not to chase it. So that's what I'm going to do.
That's it. Because again, I can only presume, but when people get into wrestling, especially in the UK kind of thing, obviously, a lot of the guys grew up watching WWE or TNA, on Bravo or Challenge. But it must seem like an unattainable dream. It's like, oh, well, I'm in Britain, or I'm too small, or it's not possible. But I love wrestling, so I'm going to do it. But when something like this happens, it must just kind of give you that kind of glimpse of, it's not an unattainable goal. There are more and more guys going over from the UK, stateside or Japan, making big. Some of the best wrestlers in the world are from UK. It's widely regarded, so it's not an impossible dream anymore. And then you get this opportunity, and it just flicks the switch, and it's like, right, okay, yeah, you was driven before. Now you're even more driven because you've seen it. You've had that taste. You've been in the ring with WWE guys now, trained with them. Held your own.
Yeah, it's mad. As well, like, I feel like I've been in that bubble in the UK. Like, I always tell people, it's kind of the same. Like, when people are, stuck at their training school and they want to get out there, they need to get out of that little bubble and see what's beyond that bubble. I've been the same in British wrestling. Like, I've, focusing so much on, like, going to TNT, True Grit, PW, WAW, Elevation, wherever it is, House of Pain that I work. Like, I've been so in this bubble of like, right, where can I tackle, in the UK? What's my next goal? I look at places like North, NGW, Progress, BWR, look at places like that, and I'm like, yeah. And I would love to work there. But, and then that has made me open my eyes to my potential isn't limited to the UK. It's not.
No,
And I don't have to do it
no.
in the same. I've never got anywhere by following everybody else down the same road. Clearly, like I like to make my own path, and if that means like getting a flight and doing like I didn't just go to the dungeon in Florida, like it was kind of a holiday, and then on the Friday I also went to a show just to watch. It was CCW where Gangrel does the training. Like, I just wanted to be there, made some connections, spoke to people, and that's how it's done these days. Like as long as you put the work in and they can see you are working on your craft of what you do, you take yourself seriously in terms of like being healthy, being fit, being in the gym, and you look the part, and you just try at least. No one's going to be perfect in every aspect, but if you're working on everything and you look like a fit and you are a fit, like people will have you back. Like I've met people the first time there, and they were saying like what somebody I met when I introduced myself was like, "Oh, you can tell you're a wrestler," and that for somebody who is always been 5 foot and ginger and small, being the small kid, that was one of the
Yeah.
best compliments I could ever have because like that's them. If my that first impression I've made on them is you're in shape, like I'm gonna take it. So it's like it's just things like that. Like I've made some connections in the US now. Like I've trained there as well, and I just feel like I'm still humbled by it. But I just want to. It just makes me want more. I feel like you can never satisfy a wrestler. A wrestler who really wants it is never satisfied. Like you just want more, and I just want that feeling all over again. Which is why I'm going to go back in the summer. I think.
Dude, mate, yeah, exactly. It's just fueled the fire. It's just hungered the beast. You got that determination. I kind of had loads of things I wanted to talk about as well, but obviously we ended up talking about the Pride title and True Grit for ages. Rightly so, it's awesome. But I'd be amiss if I didn't mention. I'm a massive. I never got to a show. I've never watched a show in person, but I love that they're very cool at putting the shows on YouTube. Wrestling in Newcastle, the production's amazing. The shows are amazing. The matches you've had up there as well. That just looks like a promotion that is just. They only charge £10 a ticket, which blows my freaking mind. That is, one of my favorite promotions in the UK now. And you get to team with like loads of really cool people, face really cool people. I think not the last show, the one before. It was you and Rampage as a team. I mean, Rampage is my go. I see you and Rampage as a team, and I'm just like, oh shit! I nearly passed out with excitement.
Yeah, like you would never put me and Rampage in a team, would you? Like,
But as
but
soon as I
yeah,
saw
like
it, I was like, yes.
I talk about wrestling Newcastle a lot because um what started off as just being contacted about a booking for a first promotion. You never know how a new promotion's going to be. Sometimes they're not even around after the first show, and they've just leveled up every time. Like the crowd, if you were there in person, like that footage doesn't do it justice. Like the crowd are insane. They're hot all the time. They're like an old school wrestling crowd. Like they hate the heels, they love the faces. That's the way they are. They despise me. Some of the things I say to them, like they hate me. But what they don't know is half my family are from Newcastle. Like I'm just horrible to them. But I know what winds them up. Um, but yeah, like in terms of wrestling Newcastle itself, one thing I will say, and I don't know if I'd get in trouble for this, but I'm not bothered because to me a relationship goes both ways. Wrestling Newcastle, what I will say about them above everybody else, and I'm not saying nobody does it at all, but them above anybody else are very, they support their wrestlers just as much as their wrestlers are expected to support the show. So if I was to be expected to, as you are as a wrestler on a show, share a graphic, like a photo, whatever, promote the show. Wrestling Newcastle are very good at promoting their wrestlers, and they won't just like or share my stuff if I'm talking about Wrestling Newcastle. And that's what I feel like a lot of promotions miss these days is that it's a two-way street. Just like you want your promotion to do well, we're self-employed. We want to do well. So if I'm wrestling for you and selling tickets and bringing people in, the least you could do is be like, oh, this is one of our wrestlers. Look at what they're doing. Like, look how in shape our wrestler is. Like, look where our wrestler's just trained. And the only one place I can say consistently does that all the time is Wrestling Newcastle. And that's why I don't think anybody is really unhappy when they work there because the vibe is just great. The fans, despite me, are great. The production is great. Commentary's great, referees are great, the booking's great. Like there's literally not one fault I can think of Wrestling Newcastle, not one. And I say the same about places like True Grit and stuff like that. But I just think like wrestling in Newcastle don't just share their wrestlers stuff and promote their wrestlers. They make sure their wrestlers see that as well, and that's good because that's where the respect comes for me, because they don't get anything from that. Like they don't get anything. Do you know, if I posted a photo being like, "Look at my body transformation over the last year," Wrestling Newcastle don't get anything by bigging you up from that. They do it because they care about you, because they appreciate what you've done for them, and that's the way it should be. And I feel like a lot of promotions forget that these days, that it is a two-way street. If you want me to share your graphic, which I'm gonna because I'm on the show, I'm not saying I do it because you want me to. I do it because I want to and because it's the right thing to do and we should do. But the same goes for, if you're wanting your show to do well, it can only be better by you also promoting the wrestlers that are on the show, right? Not just in the match graphic, but also who they are, what else they're doing, so the fans can see, oh, they do a lot more stuff. They must be a big deal. Let's buy a ticket to watch them. Like, it just blows my mind. Like, not in a negative way. I just think some promotions could be a bit better with that. That's all.
No, it totally makes sense. Like I said, you've got this talent on your show. You want to hype that talent up. It's like, look what they've done here. Look what they've done there. Yeah, check out what they've been up to. If you're excited to see that, wait till you see what they're doing our ring, kind of thing. That's sort of pale in comparison. As good as that was, we're going to make it even better, kind of thing. It just, it's a symbiotic relationship. You make each other look good. It goes both ways, which makes perfect sense. But yeah, obviously wrestling at Newcastle, you've other matches, against like Joe Wade, Henry Fast, like I say, teaming with Rampage. You're getting involved in the main events. You're costing people titles.
Doesn't sound like me.
Mate, it's just ticking all the boxes of like the Adam Bolt goodness. I'm just like, yes. I love it. The guy everybody loves to hate. It's just, mate, you just.
Although,
gotta sound cliche, you make it look good, mate. I don't want to sound.
What I will say as well is Wrestling Newcastle have finally, and I don't just mean Wrestling Newcastle, I mean anybody, but Wrestling Newcastle is the one that have done it, have finally given me a match I've been wanting for a long time. And that is Dean or Mark.
Yes, I wanted to mention this at some point, but I was just like, I couldn't remember if it's the Newcastle show or the Middlesbrough show. Is that the Middlesbrough show, isn't it? Or is it the Newcastle one?
It's Grand Slam. Grand
Slam, that's it. Yeah, because I've been a wrestling fan for way too many years, probably. I love Dean. Dean's amazing. He's I see him impressing all the time. Back when PCW was putting in all the big names, kind of thing, Dean Ormock was there, tearing it up. Somebody once said, he looks like your favorite uncle until he gets in the ring, and then you're terrified of him.
Yeah, I watched him have a match with Brady a few months back at Wrestling Newcastle, and I was just like, yeah, I need this as well.
So he's one of the guys. I mean, you got like obviously Johnny Storm, Jody Fleisch, and guys like that. Dean Ormock was one of those guys that for me was just he was a benchmark. He set the tone. He leveled. Everybody else leveled up to kind of try and keep up with him, kind of thing. And yeah, the dude's his contribution to British wrestling is very understated or very underappreciated. That kind of thing. I think he's a name that he should be on everybody's lips. Everybody should know who Dean Ormock is and what he's done. So, mate, I'd say I won't be there in person to watch it, but as soon as that drops on YouTube, mate, I am just going to sit there and watch that on repeat. And just like, yeah, that's amazing. I'll probably do real because that's what I do. It's just.
We love your reels. Your reels have been the highlight of my year.
Oh, thank you, dude.
Your reels actually make more people see what I'm actually getting up to all the time, and I'm thankful for you because you only show my wrestling, you don't show my antics, which is what people need to see.
Nah, mate, no, we just focus on. They don't need to see that. It's
my narrative that I'm the good guy.
Yes, you are to me, mate. You hang around with you train in Nottingham, mate. You're cool by association.
Oh, I'll take that. That's fine.
I'm always going to favour you. It's like, hell, mate. I even look. I make Cash Money Sash look good on the reels.
Oh God, you've got to try hard for that, haven't you?
That's what I mean. That's my point. I still do it though. I still do it because I've got that loyalty.
Do you know some of the things me and Sash say to each other? I'm so glad nobody hears it. Like, you can only imagine, but
No,
yeah.
I don't. No. Well, there's. I think YouTube will kick me off if we even go into those kind of. I can't even imagine just the back and forth, the sniping.
Yeah.
It's just,
It's more about other people, to be honest, but yeah.
oh, well, that's what I mean. Yo, oh yeah, sniping at other people. Then in that case, because it's just like, yeah, because Sash will tell you to f off to your face at a show. Never mind what he says behind the back. I can't even imagine that'd be 10 times worse.
Yeah. I'd love to just have somebody in a ring in a promo with me and Sash.
Oh my god. Just watch him melt. Like, no, just walk
I
away.
wouldn't even have to say anything because I don't think he'd let me get my 2 cents
No,
in anyway. I'm just like, yeah, go for it.
you stood next to him. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, man, I was only planning on sort of keeping you for an hour. I've kind of gone over that. But what I do want to just kind of close it on is I was having this conversation with somebody previously about stories in wrestling. Obviously, anybody who knows me knows I'm a massive fan. I love stories. Exhibition matches get you so far, but it's the stories, it's the moments, it's the emotions that hookers, that make us, go to the next show. And I think that's what's really stood out as well, over these last several months is, with yourself at True Grit, is you had that story with Tony, you had that build, you had a couple of matches. Obviously, you've got this thing going on with Shay at the minute, which has gone on over, the last 2 or 3 shows. As great as the exhibition, the one-off matches are, it must be nice to have that thing where you can kind of, you've got something to put your teeth into. Like I say, you get to come out at the start of the match and just be like, no, I don't fancy wrestling tonight. Sorry, I'll see you in a couple of months. You couldn't do that if it was just a one-off match.
Yeah. I've always said the same, like, and I know, like, Jackie T thinks the same as me. I always find, I said earlier that I perform better under pressure. But it helps when there is a reason to care about what you're doing. I always care about everything I'm doing, don't get me wrong, but like when there's some anticipation there, or some suspense, or intrigue, or whatever it is, it's so, and it gives you a lot more to play with while in your match and stuff like that. Like, for example, me and Shay, if we were just going to have a match last month, you don't know what to expect, which is good in some aspects, but it would have been just, me and Shay going at it, doing whatever, and we would have had to tell a story within that match, right? Whereas now we've got the history there. Like, everyone knows we faced each other in multiple places, but now with me doing what I haven't done yet, some people may see that as, well, why is he avoiding Shay and he didn't avoid the others? Which may lead other people to believe, well, the reason for that is because he knows Shay's the one that could beat him. Absolute lie, let me just put that out there. But from a fan's perspective, it means that there is more to play with and we can care more about what we're doing because we've got some interest there. Yeah. So, same thing I had with Tony, with how many times I cheated Tony out of it. I felt like there was going to be a riot that night if Tony didn't win. He didn't. He
Very
didn't.
similar.
But that's the point, is that it doesn't have to be, we're not out for predictability here. Like, we want to tell stories, we want to have fun, and some stories that start, you might think they're over and they're not. Like, that's a good thing about True Grit. I always say this is they nail it perfectly all the time. You can guarantee on every show there is a story coming to an end, a story just starting, and a story changing its arc all the time. There is never no story at all. Like, there's stories that are just starting, that come out of nowhere, that end, that are halfway through, that add people in, take people out. Like, there's so much story driven like angles there where there is rarely a match you don't care about, like, ever. Even if it is a match that's on second and it's like, just a challenge or something, there'll be a story with a person doing the challenge. So it's like you don't know what you're going to see. And that's the beauty of it. Like, True Grit nail it all the time. And that's why I'm so grateful to be in the position I'm in, because like, few people get to be on True Grit, few people get to have a championship reign at True Grit. I mean, mine this weekend will have been a year. I won it the day after my birthday last year. And that means for a year I've been trusted to, like, tell stories, whether it's in a match or after, during a match, or like through an extended story with somebody. Like, we've been able to do that. and we're not done yet either. So it's just exciting. Like when I see my calendar, you know, like this time next week, knowing I'll be having True Grit on Friday, like it gets. I feel like people around me can tell as well. Sometimes when you have them shows, I care about them all, but I'm not gonna lie. When there's certain things coming up, like there's like an extra spring in your step, and I know when it comes to True Grit, especially this month because I missed last month, my own fault. The last Left Bank show I missed. I mean, I had a night off, but that means I'm even more ready for it now. And that's not just the match; that's like the excitement as well. So
Yes, just bubbling over. Dude, yeah, that's it. You know, I think, you know, that kind of leads us into, we'll just leave it there because of the anticipation. You know, me, Dan, and Paul will pick up the excitement next week when we talk about the match. It's just, dude. Obviously, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. You know, I can't thank you enough. Just, yeah, mate, it's been awesome talking to you. If you want to let people know where they can find you on the socials so they can see what shows you've got coming up.
yes, so Instagram is just Adam Bolt Wrestler. On Twitter or X, if you all fancy, it's just Adam Bolt _. I'm on TikTok as well. It's just Adam Bolt Wrestler, but you're probably not going to see much other than videos of a dog. So if you like dogs, like, yeah, I do post wrestling stuff on there. I'm joking. Like, there's just dog content as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it from me. I am posting. I do have a lot coming up in November, especially. So if anybody does want to check out what I'm doing, where I am, just keep an eye on mainly Instagram because that's where I tend to post all my graphics because they can stay in the feed. But yeah.
That's it. Yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, you know, we talked about wrestling in Newcastle. I think you're on both shows, aren't you? The obviously
Yeah.
the Newcastle one and the Middlesbrough one. Yeah, you got True Grit. Yeah, you got, you know, just loads. That's just 2 promotions. That's 3 shows across 2 promotions in 1 month, and I know there's more as well. So, dude, yeah, obviously, if you're not following Adam, you know, what the hell are you doing? I'm sure you are. You won't be watching this if you wasn't. But if you're not, for some reason, I don't know, you've had an embolism or something, go follow him. You know, click on Adam. If he's on a show near you, go watch it. Go show support. Boo him. You know, if he's being dastardly, probably isn't. You know, so give him a cheer, give him a little cheeky smile and a wave. But yeah, just support your local wrestling promotion. Whoever's near you, go to a show and enjoy it. Leave with a smile. And as always, you know, I will say thank you for watching. Hit like, subscribe, share, comment, all the generic stuff we ask you to do at the end of every episode. And yeah, keep your eyes peeled. I'm going to start announcing guests for November. And yeah, you know, until next time, remember, always work the left side. Goodbye.